A change in bus services usually won't become a saga, but this latest change has become a big hoo-ha. Watch to the end, and then you can decide if 30% is right or 70% is right. So, in case you didn't know, the TEL, which you can also call it the Brown Line, opened in 2020. But back then, it only had 3 stations, connecting Woodlands to Woodlands? Then in August 2021, more stations opened, but it only connected people from Woodlands to somewhere in Toa Payoh. Not very useful, since it's almost the same as using the Red Line, except for one advantage, it won't go past Yishun. But in November 2022, more stations were open. This time, it goes all the way to town through old stations like Orchard MRT Station and Marina Bay MRT stations. Also got many new stations like Maxwell MRT Station and Great World MRT Station. So this means if you live in Woodlands, you can now head to town easily via the TEL instead of going one big route in the Red Line. Good, right? But just like how WhatsApp displays SMS, this new MRT 9 has also displaced bus service. You see, almost a year after the 9 is open, LTA announced changes in the few bus services. As travelling pattern of people have changed, there are many Trump bus services. Bus services 162 and 75 are amended, while bus service 167 is completely discontinued. Now, before I move on, you need to know what trunk services are and what feeder buses are. In Singapore, the two main types of bus services are trunk service or feeder service. The role of a feeder service is simple, to bring you from where you are to the nearest MRT station. For trunk service, it goes from one town to another. For example, for bus 167, it goes from Sembawang area to Thomson area to Orchard area to CBD area and finally to Bukit Merah area. Basically, feeder bus is for normal relationships and trunk services are for long-distance relationships. You see, for feeder service, it's clear and won't need much changes unless there are new MRT stations or new BTOs. In fact, some feeder services are now replaced with LRT instead, since they serve the same function, but for trunk, it's a bit tricky. For example, bus 189. If you live in the 70s, you will stand a route that goes from Commonwealth to somewhere to Bugis. But as time goes by and the MRT 9 is built, it changes so much that it now looks more like a feeder bus from Bukit Batok to Clementi instead, with many people using it to get to industrial areas like Bukit Batok Crescent. These changes are very common because like what a wise old man once said, the only constant is change. So with the new TEL stations, the changes will come as expected. However, what happened is that people weren't happy with the complete discontinuation of 167. According to LTA, the daily ridership of the TEL has increased from 60,000 to 177,000 daily. The trunk bus services that kind of duplicates the TEL have also seen a decrease of about 30% to 40%. One of them is 167, of course. Now this seems logical until you read the news. People seem to dispute that, claiming that many still take 167. There are many reasons, but mainly it's because the bus goes from their place direct to where they need to go. Whereas if they take the MRT, they need to change bus or change MRT a few times. So here's a disconnect that people claim, really meh? 30% meh? And as usual, a petition is being set up and chances are, when you watch this, the goal will have been reached already. Now there's a logical explanation that the elderly will need to walk more. Because you've been to any MRT station nowadays and want to change train or look for an exit, you know that finding an exit in IKEA is easier than finding exit E in an MRT station. However, most of the feedback is due to the inconveniences. Now LTA is actually reviewing the feedback from commuters. But anyways, the service will stop from 10 December. So in the next 3 weeks or so, if 167 really come back, then can someone also come out with a petition to stop the fare increase from 2030. In the meantime, if you think I learned something, consider subscribing and also watch this video to be slightly smarter.